Can you hear anyone else? Because I can only hear you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anyone else for the. I don't know if anyone else is talking. I know Wes is a little busy at the moment. That's where he's muted, and I don't know where
Sorry, I
Scurvy.
was just getting gas.
Yeah, we're just wondering where Scurvy went. He's in the call, but
He's a magic orange. Or whatever he was saying in the comments earlier.
I just thought of.
I don't get paid enough for this shit.
You know what I just thought of? I thought of the wizard thing. How they're never late or early. I just thought of that, like applying to scurvy.
They're right precisely.
A magic orange is never late, nor is he early.
Okay, am I really? Is it really magic, or is it just the fact that I'm an orange? Is that why you're discriminating against me right now, Art? Oh, by the way, I'm pretty fucking drunk right now, so.
Yay.
Though I'm still okay, so I can still talk about things, especially the topic of tonight.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say real quick before we get started, as I was trying to say just a second ago, you may call it discriminatory, but I call it complimentary.
Oh, complimentary. Fancy.
Yes, and
Okay.
He's got magic powers.
yeah, exactly. Wasn't meant to take offense.
Well, obviously it wasn't.
So, you're not recording yet, are you, Ark?
I always just hit record and then I figure things out later. You always ask me that.
Okay.
Like, this is not live.
I know. I really should stop doing.
You know how much
So the reason why we ask if you're recording is because if I really want to say some like racist shit or whatnot, and if you're recording, I mean I
can just cut
I'm
it
just
out.
being a shithead.
If you want me to cut something out.
I know, Arch. I know. I'm just being a dickhead.
No, I'll stop asking.
Well,
Good.
on the topic
Good.
of discussion, how do we want to begin that? I actually have a bunch of stuff queued up because it's 1300 here and I'm high on coffee right now. So I'm like, and I've been dealing with these idiots on X all morning. So,
Well, I was just gonna give a little opening and then that's it.
So in regards to the opening, I think it should be about the Antichrist. The fact that Laura Loomer, that Jew, wants literally when she says that she wants a king, it's like that tells me that
we
it's
can
like
get
she
into
just
that
wants
and
the
just let
Antichrist.
Yeah, we can get into that, Scurvy. But a problem I've noticed, even though this is pre-recorded, as I'm editing these, is like we never have a proper intro or outro. It's just like we start talking and then we stop. Like, I want to give some structure to this.
All right, then, from the top.
yeah, that's why I was asking because like we can have like a proper intro that talks about like what led up to the discussion and then goes into all the details and then we discuss or something like that. But
Yeah, that was my
you're the boss.
intention. Okay, so yeah, I was scrolling on Twitter, and then I see this post from Laura Loomer saying, "I want a king," and I post, "Well, I would cheer, because normally I would if an important person of some kind is saying they want monarchy, except it's Laura Loomer." And so I just left it at that. I didn't think anything of it. And then I see that actor, what's his name? He's
Evan
not
Sorbo.
Sorbo, sure. I see him. He posted, I think it was 1 or 2 hours later, right around the same time as Laura Loomer. He's like, you know what? A king doesn't seem like a bad idea now. And then I'm thinking, okay, what the hell's going on?
Well, I mean, Laura Loomer is a Jew, so naturally there'd be something sus going on.
Have either there's 3 of you now. Any of you guys have seen any other posts from the elites about monarchy?
Not yet.
Nope. It's only Laura Loomer, oddly enough. And that
And
makes
Kevin
me
Sorbo.
wonder. So why would Laura Loomer, out of all these people, want to like beg for a king? Because the thing is, right? Because she's Jewish, naturally the Antichrist would be Jewish himself, so to speak. And the reason why I say that it is again, it goes back to the Book of Revelations. Funnily enough,
What does?
the fact that she wants a king, but
That's
it's not the king that we're thinking of.
that's in Revelation.
The Antichrist, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
That
here's where I
doesn't.
get confused with that, because the Bible doesn't talk about an antichrist. It talks about antichrists, plural, and it's kind of all throughout the New Testament. And Revelation talks about let's say a dragon, a beast, and a false
It
prophet.
talks about a lot of things, but the specific, so to speak, is the false prophet. Like that Laura Loomer wants, it is the false prophet, which arguably is the most, I guess you could say, deadly, because the false prophet will, if you really think about it, right, the false prophet, what do you think about that? Like, do you think like something particularly dangerous? I don't think of something exactly dangerous, so to speak. I think of something more of like something trying to come across as like, you know, something friendly, but in reality what they're subjecting themselves to is something truly diabolical, despite the veneer of friendliness. And most people will not be able to know. Um, most people would not be able to know exactly how the the Antichrist would be able to you know I guess manifest in that sense.
Okay, so a couple issues with that observation is firstly, as Ark pointed out, Revelation speaks of Antichrist in the plural sense, meaning it doesn't just talk about a singular Antichrist, although I'm sure we do have to consider there being one that is more so powerful and influential than the others. And the other thing is, suppose your observation is correct that this is all about one Antichrist. Monarchy, even if used by the enemy, is not a necessity for an Antichrist to gain power or authority. Since
They think it's a
monarchy,
mean.
like,
They think it's a means to an end.
they might, but that's also how they view everything else. That everything they've done so far just to get to where they are now. That's their whole point. That's
But who's to say it's like the Antichrist would go about like this progressive chain to gain influence? Like at least
and that's just it.
at least to my understanding, it would be like this thing would already have such influence and power. That's how I'm thinking about that.
Well, that's the thing, Scurvy, is we don't know anything for absolutely certain, at least not anything specific. Now, we've been given signs as to watch out for, but actually, something else I wanted to bring up was that aside from Laura Loomer and Kevin Sorbo, I saw no one else with popularity of any kind, I mean. I saw no one else, aside from these two, just saying anything in the lines of, I want monarchy or I want a king. And yet it's kicked up this buzz around it, as I'm sure you guys at least are going to have a lot to say about in this episode. But in my opinion, this isn't anything to be too concerned with yet. And the reason I say this is because I've actually come up with a saying that helps me understand the way things are going and where they are. and it goes as follows: once, maybe an accident; twice, maybe a coincidence; but 3 times is a pattern. So if there was a third person with the kind of following that either of these other two people have, saying anything in the same vein that they've said in the past day at the time of recording this, then I'd probably be just as concerned as you guys. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing that you guys have picked up on.
I think for me as an Orthodox Christian, it's more or less the fact that like she's even saying something like this in the first place that has me extremely concerned as to where the direction of things are just going in general. It's not necessarily just the solely the religious factor, but also there's so many other factors as well that it's like there are so many things to think about that it's like okay, so it can't just be the fact that there is like X, Y, and Z going on right now, but there's also other things that are going on that would make her want to say, we need a king right now. And the fact that it's a that it's a Jew saying that it's that we need a king right now, that kind of makes me a little concerned in the sense that it's like knowing what she wants for the world, it's like it can't possibly be good.
Talk about like eschatology, then yeah, around that going down that route's not a good thing for anyone. But I mean, if we're talking about the
Yeah,
context of
especially eschatology.
yeah, if we're going off the context of not really the religious side of it, but if you look into what actually happened, what spurred it was the shooting of those two National Guardsmen by a Muslim migrant who used to actually work as an interpreter in Afghanistan for the U.S. military, and then this happens, and then it's basically, at least on her side, on the non-religious side, and this whole MAGA infighting, it seems to be from her and Sorbo more of a hyperbolic statement because they're tired of how the system works and the left is constantly destroying everything, and they're basically just saying, okay, fuck it to the Democrats because the whole No Kings protest. But it's I don't think really anything of them, anything is really going to come from it from either of them. They're just kind of expressing the same frustration of all right, fuck it. You guys want to do all this stuff? You want to let all these migrants in? You want to let all this crime skyrocket and all these self-destructive things, which is what the left always brings in, to just run rampant and then constantly blame us. And then you want to have the No Kings protest. It's like, all right, fuck you. Let's have a king then. But from the religious side of it, yeah, there definitely could be, something going on specifically with Loomer. But I think it's expressing kind of a growing frustration across, I guess, the MAGAscape, if you want to call it that, even though I don't think any of us are part of MAGA, because a lot of them are pro-Israel, and they've kind of lost.
Amongst other reasons.
Yeah, they've lost the fucking with the script. I can't remember the term, but they dropped the ball. They lost the script, whatever it is, and now you got like the America First side of it. But it's just obviously they're not advocating for monarchy, but that's like when I was saying in my post on there, like, hey, us monarchists have been calling for the return of monarchy for years. And I told both Sorbo and Loomer, like, yeah, but you guys are just being hyperbolic about it. Like, they're not actually being serious. And then obviously I got swamped with a bunch of stuff because idiots, it's just
You,
funny.
I think
what you're saying, that's sorry if I may real quick. That's the impression I got as I saw those posts. Since, as I was saying, it was only really those two posts going viral, not even just to the same degree. Kevin Sorbo, I guess his makes sense. He is a Christian actor, even if he is one guy. I don't know. This just gives me deja vu back to when the No Kings protest was first starting around a few months ago. If you guys remember uh, our conversation around that, I I think I agree with the observation that archaeology made at the time that the higher ups may have noticed, even if not us specifically, that may have noticed a rise in people advocating and pushing for monarchy. I just don't know if we can gauge the direction all of this is going in from something a couple of people said online. It's not just from that.
Well, here's my
Well, I
take
mean,
on
if
it.
you look at the, go ahead.
Here's my take on it. Well, first and foremost is I think you can just read the Bible itself and gather that when people think too hard about theology, they tend to get it wrong. Like when Jesus came along, he was so radically different. He was solar systems different from what the Jewish leadership expected the Messiah to be. And I think we
Yeah, he
can
called them out.
I think we can easily become just like them in that like we're so fixated on this detail and that detail
The Pharisees.
that we miss the forest for the trees. Yeah. I mean,
I see.
we're not authorities, but we're just as human as they were. And when we when I think when we dive too deeply into I don't want to say this is going to come across poorly.
It's going too deep in a domain that we really shouldn't be entering in.
Yeah, to a large
That
extent.
that's what I
And then
yeah, that's what I was
we
thinking
become too
in
certain
regards
of what
to Orthodox Christianity.
we become too certain of what we think we figured out that we become more committed to what we think we figured out than what the Bible teaches itself.
Yeah,
I'm still not on
it's
my
a thing
main
of
point.
pride.
I'm still not on my main point. I'm taking too long to get there, and I'm sorry, but I think of it's a little verse in Leviticus, just a tiny little thing. There's a commandment, and you know the Levites were the legal tribe, so to speak, right? In
Yeah, the priestly
Leviticus,
class.
there's this tiny little verse that says, "You will love your neighbor as yourself." And granted, it's surrounded by all kinds of other rules, but that's in there. It was always in there. And Jesus comes along and he says, "This is what it's all about. God is love." So that's what I mean by like, all right, let's figure out what's going to happen next, guys. And we can use the Bible to figure it out. Can we, though? I'm not so sure. And that's why I try to focus more on practical, physical stuff, tangible stuff. That's why I'm more fixated on that stuff, because I don't know what God's up to. It's one of the things that made me a Christian again in the first place is I got done trying to figure out my own life, first of all. And I was done trying to, I was done believing. I didn't even realize I believed this, but I was just done believing that I could control more things than I really can. Those are just some of the things that brought me back to the faith. And we can still easily do that as believers. Try to control things, and we try to control things by thinking we understand. So, all that being said, I just want to know, like, yeah, Laura Loomer's a Jew. Duly noted. But I just want to know, the No Kings thing happened twice this year. They passed. I'm sure there's another one coming, but there's not one right now. There wasn't one yesterday. What prompted her to say this? And we have to like try to not, you know,
That is a good question.
we have to try to not be fixated on the fact she's a Jew, I think.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking
Agreed.
about with the shooting of the National Guardsmen. There was a lot of rhetoric that went back and forth. It happened November 26th, so a couple days. Well, yesterday for me, roughly the same day. Well, yeah, whatever. And then the last couple of days, and there was a lot of rhetoric back and forth. So I think the catalyst was, at least from official report, was that she's one of those people that's super deep into MAGA and a Trump supporter, has been banned from a different place, a bunch of different places. And Sorbo is similar to that, and their sentiment's been just like the catalyst may have been those two guardsmen being shot by a migrant. It's kind of like what happened with Irina Zarutska and all them. Like these
Yeah,
things happen, and then
that was
there's
my
just this
theory.
big snowball effect of like she got fed up, and Sorbo got fed up, and whoever else. And if you look at those posts, see how many likes, retweets, comments. There's thousands of them there.
Yeah,
Some
but
in
just
support, and a lot of them not.
just 2 hours apart though.
But,
That's really weird.
yeah,
And if I start
maybe Sorbo follows her.
if I start seeing more elites saying this, I don't trust it. And you guys know how much I want monarchy, but this is
I'm with
just,
you.
it's too out of the blue for me to, I mean, I wouldn't trust it anyway. I never expected our current elites to want a king. I've always predicted that the elites that we have right now are the last ones to let go of democracy. So I'm especially suspicious that any of them are like, yeah, let's have a king. Oh shit.
Well, that kind of goes back to what I was saying too, like the whole hyperbolic fuck it mentality, because they're tired of dealing with the Democrats and the left doing what they do and getting away with it. So I think that probably is the sentiment behind it, but who knows?
The point is, we need to have more focus in the events going on and the people surrounding it, and less in who exactly the people involved are, since people involved in any event under any circumstances change. I'm sure you guys have noticed every time we've talked about someone else on this podcast, with a couple exceptions, we hardly talk about the same people over and over again. Well, except for one group, obviously, the Jews, that comes up a lot. But it's a good example of something that, yes, although it is something that's often irrelevant, it's not always something that needs discussing. Just because there's so many other facets that we could be observing that also play an integral role in everything that's happening.
I see.
And that's what I would like to
You're not
figure
wrong.
out if we can. What is going on to make any elites start to say this? And Joel Berry, I'm sure you guys all saw that post. I think you did. He's so, I mean, he's not a Jew, and Laura Loomer is. But we all know how much he loves Israel and shit. Classical
that is true.
classical
That is
neocon.
true.
But he immediately responded with, "Hey guys, no, monarchy's bad." And here's a verse from 1 Samuel that I've debunked 100 times. Here's a verse from 1 Samuel that says kings are bad. It's all just weird.
That's not what it's saying.
Wow. I mean, you know what I have to say? It's me, Joel Berry, and I have to say, establishment good, dissidents bad. Yeah.
The things,
The establishment is great, everyone.
the only things that I have ever
that kinda
known
goes-
and lived amongst, those are the best things ever, okay? That basically is
Yeah,
his
those
entire
are the
personality.
best things ever.
But that goes into my discussions with all the idiots on there about how we live in the democratic paradox of bullshit, and they're like, oh, we had one guy going on there going, the oldest cop out in the book. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. I'm like, you're an idiot for the same thing. One's just watered down, and the other ones are all. I got called a communist. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Like,
And if we're gonna
what
I've been
about what I
called one too.
believe? I told him, what about that? What I believe is communist. I want what's best for my people. And I know that these self-destructive systems like democracy, any variant of Marxism, feminism, rainbow cult nonsense, none of that stuff is good for anyone. I'm like, how does that make me a communist when I want those systems taken out and something better put in place? And I still haven't got an answer for that.
A common,
that's just why we shouldn't take any of these kinds of people seriously. I mean, for goodness sake, the argument is we live in a constitutional republic when, if you want to be real pedantic, we are actually in a federal republic, and constitutional as a prefix for the kind of government in which said constitution is a part of, it's meaningless, since constitutions can exist in any form of government, since what is a constitution if not a paper or parchment with words on it, with the words
Households
being about.
have constitutions and they post it outside their door. Like, in this house, here's what we believe. I'm sure you guys have seen a shitload of those. That's
Yeah,
a kind
no,
of constitution. Doesn't mean
that's
anything.
that's really all a constitution is. You're right, and I'm glad you brought that example before I started rambling.
Oh, I find it to be hilarious listening to these people. 'Cause I'm just like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And it's like, all right, I'm just gonna troll you for a little bit and then move on.
It's called We Do a Little Bit of Trolling. It's called We Do a Little Bit of Trolling.
One of the this isn't totally on topic, but I don't think I've ever said it on this podcast. Monarchy is not just about, like, everyone, because we have lived in this Republican framework for 250 years. When it comes to governments, when it comes to power, the only thing anyone can pay attention to is the mechanics of it, which is hilariously ironic because they still don't understand their own system, let alone any other system. But in a purely mechanical sense of, like, well, what do you do if this happens? What do you do if this happens? Especially their favorite, what do you do if the king's bad? Monarchy,
What if you do if the king is bad? I mean, you know, the king is automatically gonna be bad, boys.
and monarchy
Well, I
is
like to tell people,
arguably,
it's like, well, it's a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, monarchy is arguably the only system that is political, spiritual, and social all at the same time, and healthy. You know, it's more than just who's ruling over you. It's who represents you to the rest of the world, who can you look up to, who should you look up to. Your leaders should be someone you look up to. No one looks up to a politician, let alone hundreds of them. It's all these
Well,
things that kings
yeah, that's kind
encompass.
of like the yeah, that's kind of like the point I always make is like, oh, what if the monarch's a tyrant? What if he's bad? Like, well, it's a little bit easier to replace a monarch that's a tyrant than it is an entire faceless bureaucracy that you can never get rid of without the entire system falling apart. It's like, what
Yeah.
would you rather do? Serve a faceless bureaucracy that doesn't give a shit about you, or the monarch you can go talk to and say, hey, this might be a better way, and it'll actually listen to you.
And that's part of what
Like,
I like
part
to.
of what freaks me the fuck out about any elite saying let's have a king. Like, you guys are not going to give up power. No fucking way. So why do you want a king? Like, it sounds to me like you just want to pick out one of your own to have ultimate power while keeping the rest of you in power at the same time. And you just get away with even more shit than you already do. That's what it sounds like to me.
Which, if that's
And that's terrifying, to be
yeah,
honest.
well, well, for sure. And if that is the case, then really nothing changes. I mean, it sounds like it, but if we actually observe what these people, our elites, are like, all we're changing is all they would be changing, rather, is people's understanding of what the power structure is. In reality, it's more of the same, if not just escalation. And as for the example Wes was talking about just now, I always like to bring up the example, as mentioned already, and I'm sure will be mentioned many more times the more people keep bringing it up as an quote unquote argument. The first Samuel verse. I just like to remind people they have a righteous king, and that is more of an indictment of the people themselves than their leaders or leaders. It doesn't matter if it's a leader or many leaders. It is more so an indictment of a people because they tolerate it.
Yeah, I think we
Just
always
like to
have the
remind,
leaders we deserve. Always.
yep, just as so I say, just keep reminding people of that.
Yeah, you absolutely have a point there.
Need I bring up the King Noah example for the umpteenth time?
Feel free to do so. It seems like the normies would not be able to get that.
Yeah, truth be told, aside from what Archaeosophy was suggesting may be the case, I can't think of any any reason worth concern as to why influencers would be wanting a monarchy or a king. Because just like when the No Kings protest started, uh, people rallying against monarchy when it hasn't been genuinely prevalent, at least not in the absolute sense, in at least a few centuries now, it it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and Laura Loomer is no is no intellectual.
Well, I mean, she's fucking retarded, tell
Like
you the truth.
what part of her life, what part of her history would make anyone think, oh yeah, she's put a lot of thought into this. I can see why she would want to change the system to that. No one thinks that.
Absolutely nothing.
Sorry, what was that?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could hear you.
It
All
sounded
right,
like you
yeah, I
were...
just switched microphones.
Oh, cool, cool.
Does it actually sound better, or is it?
Yes, it
Not sure.
does.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just finally got an actual microphone for this stuff. So anyway, yeah, on the subject of her, like, no, she's done nothing but, well, she's female, so
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
Yeah, I real quick, I know what you mean. I just got my microphone set up that I've had for a while. Just got that done just last episode. I'm sure our audience will appreciate the difference.
yeah, because I think before I sounded just muffled and far away, and now I actually have a microphone for once.
As did I, I'm sure.
Fun fact, the mic that I use was actually a wedding present. I've had this thing forever.
Oh. I see, I see.
But
Yeah.
I guess we're moving up in the world with our tech.
Yeah. Politicians, influencers, content creators, elites. Look, I mean, everyone. No, I shouldn't say everyone knows. Clearly, not everyone. People with sense know that most of them are not thought leaders of any kind. And that's what's been so, I guess, disappointing, amongst other reasons, with some of the people that we look up to, and not the royal we. It's just, I don't have the words for this.
What are you thinking of?
Oh, just how hopeless and bleak it seems sometimes. But
Yeah,
So
it's-
you mean you're black pilled?
No. It's just, I know that's what it seems, but at the same time, I recognize once I start letting myself sink into truly entertaining that sort of through line, it's when I stop striving for better things.
Yeah, I fall
do
into that
that.
trap a lot too, where I see something and it can ultimately turn out to be nothing. Or I'll just think of something and then it just crushes me for days, if not weeks. Like, that happens.
But Chad, nothing ever happens.
Which is a lie. Things happen all the time. But this thing.
No, they don't, Chad. Nothing ever happens.
But this thing in particular,
I'm just being a dick, Arch.
I know. This thing in
You're
particular
drunk.
almost
No.
it almost blackpilled me, because I was thinking about, are these fuckers gonna make me oppose monarchy? I've put so much effort into promoting it, and they just flip the tables on me like this. Is that what's about to happen here? It's not that I oppose the system. I will never oppose the system. I just oppose these children of democracy choosing to implement monarchy. This is never what I had in mind. It was never like,
Yeah.
oh, just crown someone king. That's it. That's all I want. Just the literal crown and nothing else. It was never that simple. It's, I want to get rid of this complete dog shit system, and everyone who's promoted it and, given it life, I want all of it gone and replaced. with a proper monarchy. Not, I want any one of these elites, even Trump, to just simply get more power, because that's all it would be. But if that's how it happens, I will have to oppose. It'll look like I'm opposing the very thing I've always fought for. But it's the people doing it. It's not the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to entertain the idea, though, that what if, these children of democracy actually did somehow bring monarchy back, and then we lived within a democratic system? Like, would that be able to be fixable from the inside? Because at least it would exist, but at the same time, that seems like a bit of a cop out. Like, well, we have it, but it's made by these fuckers. So it's like, that might be an avenue to think about, just to see what would be the course of action for the real monarchists and the ones who don't want these people who exist within this faceless bureaucracy of stepping bullshit to gain even more power and then actually become dictators or tyrants.
Also, this could also, I don't know if that's what the plan currently is with the elites, but they could try to pull this off. They could try to implement monarchy anyway, just as a way to like they sense this change is coming. This is what people want. This is what the younger generations want. We're getting older, and they're just growing up. How do we
George Soros? He's gonna use his eternal life machine. He's gonna look even older than he is now at 200 years old.
And somehow still alive.
But they could do it.
And somehow still alive.
They could do it as a way to like, I don't know if false flag is the right term for it, but no, it's not the right term. Just as a way to, like, oh, this change is coming, so we'll just make it in our image. So that we, one, don't lose, and two, benefit from it.
Let's say, I don't think a single politician, besides maybe like one, wouldn't even know their name, who doesn't secretly want more power. Like, they're drunk on it as they are, and like if the opportunity to become, a duke or a baron or some sort of royal or some sort of noble was out there, like, would they not jump on it? I highly doubt they wouldn't. Specifically like the Laura Loomer types.
Well, thankfully, there's so many of them that any one of them, it's like, yeah, let's change the system to monarchy. I'll be the king. No, I'll be the king. No, I'll be. I'm glad there's so many of them that you can't have all of them be. Infighting. You can't have all of them be the one, but they can still try to pull some shit.
If you think about it, there is a book. I think it's in the Old Testament that is exactly about why those types should not be king. I was thinking about it, like, when my friend said, it's like, oh, there's a book in the Bible as to why we should not have kings. But thinking about it now in the context that we're talking about all this in, it's like, I think that applies more to them than the Goyim, so to speak.
All right. I just stepped out for a couple seconds to find something. Got a couple things I want to add. Firstly, we actually covered this topic somewhat a while ago in one of our comment responses.
When I believe we did.
Yeah, when some left Twitter was asking about what we would do if we were found ourselves under a monarchy in which we opposed, which the answer, if I recall, is as simple as it is now as it was then, is that we would oppose the monarch itself. Because it's not the system of monarchy that we have an issue with. It's the people that it would be the bad monarchs as opposed to the good ones. Or as Arkazov said, you don't get rid of the monarchy, you get rid of the monarch.
Yeah, in any situation with a bad king, even if it's from the current crop of elites we have now, okay, at least we're halfway there. So get rid of the monarch, but not the monarchy, if it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going off of the political and ideological framework of the lefties in control, who would more likely be the bad monarch, they're not going to last that long anyway. And you're going to get someone in power who's more naturally right wing, which is just the natural orientation of the world. And that monarchy and that monarch will last a lot longer as long as it's not, assassinated. But generally speaking, I mean, democracy and leftism, they're all very destructive experiments that are proving just how bad they are. And they always fall apart and collapse because that's part of their nature. Whereas if you look at like the family unit, like the nuclear family, that is the most natural form of a monarchy or authoritarian system you could ever have. And then you blow it up to, a societal level and you have an actual functioning monarchy where the king and queen and, are in charge of the family, which would be their subjects. But when you have a king or a queen who are a bunch of, self-destructive psychopaths, they're not going to be in power very long, you know?
I'm a big
for sure.
believer
The
in
next-
that what happens at the top starts at the bottom. Everything comes from the top in a way, but what's his name? I haven't seen a video from his in a while. What if Altist made a video on this a while ago, I think a year ago, how entire civilizations you can tell how they function, and you can even almost predict what they're going to do next just based on their family structures, like what they look like at the family level. How much power does the father have, or is it the grandfather? Is it nuclear? Is it extended? You can almost predict all these things just from that.
that's a good
I mean,
observation.
not to make it too spicy. I mean, look what happened in Germany with the family units they had there, and what happened to all of them, and they destroyed them. They look how prosperous and rich and advanced that country became after a certain point. It was just very strong on Christian values and the family unit, and it
That
was
actually
obviously attacked and destroyed.
that actually leads, not really, but I just want to mention real quick because there was another thing I wanted to say in addition to that. So the next thing I wanted to add is I've brought up King Mosiah from the Book of Mormon before as another example of what is usually brought to me as scriptural reference that to support an argument against monarchy. And I'd like to elaborate a bit on that since it's a bit late and I unfortunately don't remember the exact chapter that I referenced. But the gist of it that King Mosiah comes to when he has made the decision to disband of the monarchy in placement of ruled by these high priests as judges. The gist of it is that it is more important the kind of leader that you have than it is the structure in which they lead, which is basically saying it doesn't matter what system you have if you don't have good people in positions of power. Which, we being monarchist, we recognize that tends to be monarchy more than any other structure anyway. But with that also comes an understanding that there could be goodness in other systems. Oh, but that's like with all things, dependent on the people within.
I
So
kind of
keeping that
agree,
in
kind
mind,
of disagree.
Yeah.
A little
yeah,
bit
you
of
can
both,
elaborate
Well,
on that. You can
because
elaborate on that in a second.
like
If
my
I may
pin
just
post,
if I, sorry, real quick, if I may cap this off, just real quick. Never mind, I lost my train of thought. Gosh darn it.
Well, I mean, to kind of touch on what you're saying, like I did come up with an alternative governance model that wasn't monarchy, but functions a very similar way. I called it what I call it moral authoritarianism, where it's based off of
Oh,
an actual moral system that still fundamentally functions the same way as a monarchy, but just you have a council of people who are actually put in place that earned their right to be there, but still the system would function in a similar way. Obviously, monarchy is going to be better because it just naturally is, but I get what you mean about people at the top need to be good, regardless of the system. Obviously, I think monarchy is better, but I get what you mean.
You actually reminded me of that last point I was trying to make, where I w- the end to which I was going to with everything I've been saying the past few minutes is this is one of the many reasons I ended up coming up with triarchism, because I believe, and still do, I don't remember if we ever touched upon emphasizing on more aspects of being truly right wing other than pro monarchy. Monarchism can't be all there is for any system. It's not enough just to have a clear hierarchy for a governance structure. You need other aspects that make up a society as well, which is why I lumped in having a monarch with Christianity and nationalism as core pillars
No, you're
or
absolutely right too.
founding principles behind a common cause. That was the point I was getting at. Just,
Now, perfect
just
contrast to that would be like Islam. Like they
oh,
have
for
their
sure.
sultans and their leaders, but like you look at what Islam has done for the last 1400 years, it is one of the worst things to happen to humanity. And yet they lived within a monarchical system. Like that's a perfect example of having a monarchy that's not good. Like it doesn't have the same pillars. It's just, hey, we're going to kill everyone, enslave everyone, and just treat the entire world like crap. Versus, and this is some of my posts on X being like, there's only one religion in the world that's ever actually raised people out of barbarity and tried to bring everyone together, and it's not Buddhism, it's not Islam, it's not anything else but Christianity. And you
Yeah,
have to have that as part of the pillars, and obviously nationalism, because if you don't care about your own people, what's the point? You're just going to bring a bunch of people in, and then you won't have a people anymore. It's just going to be a multicultural soup of boiling bullshit,
That's
basically.
why that's
yeah,
why I
that's
think
why I
this
made
this entire I don't know if you guys have noticed the rise in paganism, but that's why I think that's complete
yes.
horseshit
Those fuckers,
because
really?
like
Yeah.
they're kind of it started when knowledge of Hitler wanting to bring back German paganism kind of started leaking into the public. Most people didn't know that. Most people still don't. But once that started to become more known, the popularity of paganism also started to rise. And it's just horseshit. I'm like, okay, yeah, they were white, but they acted like savages as much as any sub-Saharan place today. you know,
Well,
we're all capable of it.
I gotta say,
We're all capable of it.
the white man is more capable of doing things under paganism than anyone who isn't.
Yeah, but Christianity is
I'm
still
just doing my
supreme. It's still
well,
better
obviously, I'm just doing my Uncle Ruckus impression.
without
This is
the
funny
right
how
guidance, guiding principles, guiding anything. We're all
Well,
like
yeah,
that. We're all
obviously,
like that.
paganism is shit. So
well, I mean, Scurvy, you're technically correct about flawed and faulty aspects working better with certain groups of people than others. Like, for example, if I had to choose between living with different kinds of pagans, I would pick European Christians over any other pagan group without
did I
hesitation.
say
If
the
not,
white
yeah.
man was inferior?
No, I said I would pick them over them. Never mind. I know,
I'm just yanking your chain.
right. But back to what Wes and I were just talking about. That's why I made Christianity, nationalism, and monarchism. That's why I made those principles the core values of triarchism.
Yeah, I
Since
remember
if
you
you
and I
were,
just talked about that.
yeah, yeah. Funny enough, after our previous episode, Weiss actually asked me a couple of questions about it, hoping I'd elaborate, and I did. And I'll briefly sum up what I said to him to describe it. Is although you don't need to ascribe to all three of these core values to be a triarchist, you do need to uphold at least two of these principles. And even then, um, as to what that has to do with this topic for today, if you remove any of those pillars, the whole thing collapses.
Oh, agreed. I
That
mean, I'm
is
not
true.
even
That is
Christian
true.
anymore, but Well, I'm not super religious, but I still was raised on Christian values. I still adhere to those. I mean, I go to church, but I still follow those rules that were given to us because they're the best way to live. It's like you have to have those systems. I mean, if you have a different morality, a different set of rules, like I bring up Islam, I just put a video out about it, how destructive it is. And your entire morality is, hey, everyone sucks. I get to do whatever I want to, everyone else around me. Then you're obviously going to destroy everything around you. But when you have a system, the morality and the rules of different, the Christian faith that say, hey, no, everyone can be brought in to believe this
I'll be
same
back.
thing. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I get what you mean, but yeah, you have to have all three.
I keep bringing it up because I still think it's not that anyone has disagreed with the sentiment so far, but I wouldn't keep bringing it up as much as I have as something to be pushed if I didn't earnestly believe that it was something worth pushing for that could actually start getting us some that could get us the results that we want. But
Yeah.
Ark, a few minutes ago, you said you kind of agreed, kind of disagreed with what I referenced about King Messiah from the Book of Mormon. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are about that.
You'll have to give me a summary of what you said again, because I forgot.
It is better to have righteous leaders
Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
any
Now I remember.
form of government than the structure of government itself.
So yeah,
Which I do want to
like
add. Sorry, I do want to add real quick, just a reminder that he came up with this after all of his sons refused to succeed him as king to go off and be missionaries instead. But one of his concerns with coming up with this is he was worried that one of his sons would change his minds and they may be unsuited by that time. And I say that because if you are given inheritance and deny it and then go back on it, can you really be trusted to withhold that inheritance the way you were supposed to, or do you have alternative motives? I'm not trying to put words in King Mosiah's mouth. I just thought I'd bring that up since that's something I didn't mention last time.
well, I partly agree with the general premise, but I partly disagree because, like, in my pinned post on Twitter, every other system, like, honestly, just even the discussion of like what is the best political system is just nonsense in and of itself, because there is only one system and the rest of them are just their own little like attempts at
Well, yeah,
perfecting it, attempts
the
at
rest just
like
suck ass.
how do we make sure that the leader is never oppressive, and how do we make sure this never happens, how do we make sure that never happens, but it's still monarchy. It's just the rest of them are bastardizations of it.
Something else we've brought up, funny
but
enough.
but I'm finishing my point. Anything else you come up with is just borrowing from monarchy. So like what are you even coming up with? It generally tends to be, I'm not saying you specifically, anyone, it tends to be the wrong answer. There is only one right answer. That is the natural order. That is monarchy. And everything else just borrows from whatever monarchy builds. So it's like, yeah, like, the leader matters. Have a good leader. Of course, that matters, and it helps no matter what your system is. Of course. But the system itself is always going to be dog shit if you give it enough time, and it's not the natural order. So that's my take on it. I partly agree with it, partly don't.
Well,
I mean,
here's
I
the
guess you
thing.
could go ahead.
Well, I'm actually quite pleased that you said all that because I pretty much agree with you. Because do you want to know what started happening more often throughout the entirety of the Book of Mormon after that reign of the judges was established as opposed to before? Take any kind of conflict imaginable, political corruption, warfare, genocide. The prevalence of that within the Book of Mormon's writings increased exponentially afterwards. Like, it's not close. If you compare the books before the Book of Mosiah to everything that happened afterwards, I mean, for goodness sake, one of the peoples that the Book of Mormon talks about, the Nephites, were completely genocided at the hands of the Lamanites centuries after King Mosiah dissolved the monarchy with him. So yeah, Ark, I agree with you on that, and that I disagree with the king's premise, since as much as he was a prophet of his day as well, heck, we can look all throughout the Bible to know that prophets aren't infallible. Surely, just my point is, even the wisest men can't foresee all things, whether by whether due to their own human nature or because God simply does not reveal everything to them.
Exactly. That's why you can't abandon the rules. Like the things that you know to be true about reality itself, you can't stray too far from that, because you will be wrong. Plain and simple, you will be wrong. This also kind of harkens back to what I said earlier about monarchy is not just about the mechanics of like what political system works the best. It encompasses other things too, social and spiritual as well. And the main question, and this is actually what, when you really think about it, the real reason people hate monarchy, it's not just about how America was founded and that whole mythos. Monarchy is about, you are not good enough to make your own decisions. You have to be told what to do. And your average elite and pleb alike hate that idea. Plebs and elites alike want to do whatever they want, like children. I want to do what I want.
You see what they do with that freedom.
It's what gets plebs out of bed in the morning. They think if I work 50 hours this week instead of 40 hours like last week, I'll be that much richer, and then I'll have that much more power over my own life.
If only I was able to work for longer for Shekel McGoystein, then I'd be able to finally get out of the hellhole that is modernity.
A lot of people think that way, yeah. I mean, it all comes back
think that way, unfortunately.
It all comes back to
then
wanting.
Again, I'm only 25, so
it all comes back to wanting power over yourself and thinking you know what's best, even for yourself. People hate the idea of being told what to do. That's the true, genuine hatred of monarchy, where it comes from. But people do need to be told what to do.
You're telling me that Shekel McGoystein is actually my enemy? I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. Shekel McGoystein provided me a livable wage of only $40 a year.
In an economic system that he invented.
And endlessly benefits from.
If I may elaborate as to what everything Ark was just saying, I actually see it's more than that. I'd agree with everything you were saying if we were just talking about pro-democracy lovers on the right. If we take the left into account, it's not just, oh, I shouldn't have to be told what I should do. Not that we're totalitarians who believe that people in power should micromanage every part of their people's lives. That's retarded. But it's also the fact that with a monarchy, you don't get political influence over other people's lives. And I think that's what people hate more than the idea of being told what to do.
Everybody wants power. That's nothing new to human nature and history. It applies to all of humanity throughout all of time. Everyone wants power. That's why it makes me roll my eyes, and it just makes me seethe, actually, whenever I hear anyone talk about how amazing democracy is, or they lament the loss of democracy in fiction or in reality, if it happens like in a different country or something.
You're,
Like, no,
you're
they,
literally talking about the Handmaiden's Tale right now.
well, not
This is
exactly. I mean,
literally the Handmaiden's Tale because democracy is dead and I like to vote and Kamala Harris is the best
but
politician that ever lived.
you hear people talk about democracy like I was actually thinking of Star Wars when I was saying this. There's this deleted scene where they're like thinking about starting the rebellion. And one of the characters, whatever his name was, he's like, "We cannot let 1,000 years of democracy disappear." And I'm just like, "Oh, fuck off with this democracy worship! Like it's the key to utopia. As long as we have a democracy, everything will be perfect." Like even in fucking Star Wars,
George Lucas is Jewish, I
even
believe.
even in fucking Star Wars, where did democracy get you? Oh, a complete fucking mess. That's where it got you. Even in a fictional made for kids franchise, it still gets you there.
Republic.
Yeah.
I mean, they show that the worst characters in the entire story, well, Palpatine became Sidious, is a fucking politician. Like he got there because he was voted into
Yeah.
power. It's like, and he was voted into power by
Oh, hold on.
retard.
Hey. A child of
What's up?
democracy. part of that
Pretty much.
part of that elite class made himself king.
Pretty much, and then he destroyed everything. And I mean, people argue, "Oh, the Empire had such structure." I'm like, yeah, that's a perfect example of a bad monarchy.
It's like when libertarians call people like us statists for just being authoritarian in general, when they don't realize that you can absolutely have liberty and also be subject under authority. They somehow see it as a contradiction when
I am
it's not
starting
always the case.
I'm starting to
Well,
hate
there's my favorite
freedom.
quote from.
I'm starting to hate the word freedom almost as much as equality. I said this in one of my really old videos. I've always known this. Like you cannot have a functioning society, period, if it's too tyrannical or if it's too free. You always need to be in a sweet spot in the middle, no matter who you are as a people. There's no getting around this. Too strict, you're not going to last. Too free, you're not going to last. So what the fuck does freedom even mean? I won't go too far on that though. Just even the word freedom annoys me.
Yeah, I remember which video you're talking about. You specifically said that balance, that middle ground, is called order. And by the way, it's why I specifically used the word liberty. And one of my issues last time we talked about this with using words like freedom and equality is they are by themselves nebulous concepts without a modifier.
Well, I mean, my favorite quote
That's
from
also
Frank
true.
Herbert is literally about, it's like seek freedom and become slave to your desires, and seek discipline and find your liberty. It's like you have to have the middle ground in there. If you're just endlessly pursuing freedom, then anything goes. But if you're crushed in a box, well, that's not going to last. And if you go back to Star Wars, the whole Leia says to Tarkin, you know, the tighter you close your fist, the more systems are going to slip through his fingers. Like all the star systems like sand. It's like you have to have the middle ground, like you're saying.
It's order. Too far one way you get anarchy, too far the other way you get tyranny. And no, I remember the video you made about this arc.
I mean, I
It's one of those
experience this with my own
I've
family. If I let my kids do whatever they want, they become little hooligans and fight each other and act out and have these little angry emotional problems. But if I crack down on them way too hard, they have the same things. Like, no. There has to be a middle ground, some sort of balance. So it's like, all right, this is as far as you can go. You go farther than that, you're going to be in trouble. And this is as far as I go. If I go past that, then I get in trouble. So it's like there has to be, like you said, order. It can't just be a free for all or uh, tyranny. But across most of human history, monarchies were not tyrannies. They were just, hey, this group of people are in charge. In this case, the monarch or the king, queen, whatever, his advisors, and they made things work. And then if you became a dictatorship, then obviously that didn't last long. If you were way too free, then everything collapses.
And the funny thing about that fact is, and it's absolutely a fact, is what kept kings from being tyrants most of the time? Their elites.
The
The elites, and to an extent, the commoners as well. You know, when
Let's
everyone's
say
looking
the
at you,
positive feedback loop.
when everyone's looking at you, even if you have authority over all of them, they can still, if they turn on you, they can still crush you. If they all turn on you, you're basically for the rest of your life in this game of like, I hope they don't turn on me. I use this.
Well,
I got into an argument with someone on Twitter the other day, and I used this analogy. It's like a father with, say, 5 teenage sons. He's still their father, but he could piss them off so much that they attack him, and he's not going to win that fight. It's kind of the same situation with a king. He has authority over everyone else, but if he pisses them off too much, they can turn on him and they will win.
I think that goes
That's what
back
kept
to
kings. That's what keeps kings in line. In reality, that's why most of them were not tyrants.
It's also what
well, that
the
and
happened
fact
just
to
that
like
King
the
Noah.
fact that the people they had dominion over could actually do stuff to them because there were more of them than there were of him, because the king is only one person.
So, funny enough, that's actually, yeah, I know I keep bringing him up, but he's a very prevalent example. That is what happened to King Noah. 2 years after a prophet named Abinadi was sent to this kingdom to preach repentance to the whole kingdom, since everyone was wicked, no righteous amongst them, until after he was sent to preach to them. King Noah and all of his priests ended up burning him at the stake. He was burned to death. But then over the next couple years after they burned this prophet, after they burned Abinadi, the entire kingdom started going to hell in a handcart. And guess what they all did? They burned King Noah himself.
Yep.
I do appreciate when fiction gets reality right. I already used Star Wars as an example, so I'll just use another. In Game of Thrones, the books are called Song of Ice and Fire. You know, the story that kicks the event that kicks off the entire story is a king that went too far, pissed off too many people. It was the Mad King. What's his name? I'll just say the Mad King. Just killed people,
The Mad King
killed
World of
lords,
T-shirts.
lords and ladies, and even children, left and right for his own pleasure. And finally, enough elites said, "Okay, enough of this piece of shit." They turned on him, and they won. And then that was basically the start of the story, with Robert Baratheon becoming king. And he was a completely new dynasty, but it had to happen because the Mad King was a mad king. And that's exactly what would happen in real life. King goes too far, he deserves to get taken out. Like I say,
say,
keep the monarchy, but get rid of the monarch.
yeah, and you see what King Baratheon's reign was for however many years. It was for the most part peaceful. I mean, they had conflicts, but do you look at the contrast? It's like you had crazy wars and destruction with the old guy, and then Baratheon took over, and everything was for the most part chill.
Yeah, it's
It's
never
almost as
perfect. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Pax Romana. That's kind of a myth. That's not entirely true. This period of time in Rome's history of like I think it was 5 peaceful emperors. It was a relatively peaceful time. And I think it was, but it wasn't completely peaceful. It's never completely peaceful. But relatively speaking, it was.
Well, I think
Rome
people
did a lot
who
of
look at
stupid shit.
monarchists, yeah, automatically think that we all think it's going to be perfect, when obviously we're fucking realists before anything else. Like, we know it's not going to be perfect. And we know it's going to be flawed, but compared to what we have now, with democracy or Marxist systems, like, there's not really a contrast.
and
I
we
mean,
have
there is, but you know what I mean.
yeah, and we have so many points of reference that we can use, have used, and will continue to use to as a means to demonstrate our understanding of the matter, be it fiction, history, or scripture.
Mm.
It's almost as if the whole kings and elites keeping each other check is how checks and balances as a concept actually works, and you didn't need to create a whole new system to serve that purpose. One that
And you
is
and you can't really keep
already
that
crumbling.
system in place with sheets of paper anyway. Sheets of paper don't do anything. If you want
I think
checks
a
and
bigger thing
balances,
would be
get a real like tangible like here's just the reality of it. That is that's better checks and balances than sheets of paper always.
Yeah, I think a bigger part of it too is like the monarch has to be raised in an environment where I mean, well, it's like how I raise my kids. Like they have to earn everything. I'm not just giving them free stuff. Like no, you have to. Oh, they'll call me like, "Hey, Dad, can I play the game?" Like, all right, did you clean up? Did you do your homework? You have to earn that, and then I think that's one of the bigger issues with some of the monarchies in the past that fell apart was that the princes and the princesses, they were literally treated like princes and princesses. They were not actually taught. These are the bad ones, right? Not the vast majority of them. Were taught just to do whatever the hell they want. Like, well, when you stop teaching them to be honorable and actually care about their people and learn how to rule and reign, well, obviously they're going to become pieces of shit. It's like that's the checks and balance. The other side of that, the checks and balances, teach them to be actually good versus just be a stuck up like a Joffrey, from Game of Thrones, to use another reference. He's a stuck up little shit, and then you have like John, who I think he became the king of the North. I don't remember what it was, but who would you? This is one of the things I asked people I used to teach back in the day was who would you rather follow? If we're going to bring up another movie
Hey
reference,
fellas, I
sorry.
gotta get going.
Okay,
Oh, feeling
I'm
Night.
driving right now, so I
Night,
apologize.
y'all.
Yep.
All right, see you in a minute.
Right. But like another movie reference is like 300. Who would you rather follow into combat? King Leonidas or Xerxes? One of them was considered a dictator, the other one was considered an actual king. They were both monarchs, though. They were both kings and rulers of their realms. But one of them, by all historical accounts, was in the thick of it fighting with his men. Like, who would you rather follow? The guy telling you to go die, or the guy in the fight, dying with you? You know.
Yeah. We kind of got way off topic. But generally,
Yeah. Sorry.
generally speaking,
alright.
just like part of the whole point of a king. Actually, that is part of our motivation as monarchists is like that natural checks and balances. We don't directly talk about it very often, if ever, but that is part of what we like about monarchy is that okay, the king has to behave or he gets taken out. We're just as much in favor of removing bad rulers as any Democrat. It's just we think removing them via like, oh well, you've been in office for 4 years, time to go, is bullshit for so many reasons. But when you start, if you're gonna start the monarchy from elites who only became elites because of democracy, just I can't even imagine the mess that would create. Just
That's all.
that's I don't know what to think about it. Like, do we basically do we panic? Do we try to stop it before it happens? What do we do?
Well,
Well,
we
it kind of
already.
goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like maybe this is the avenue in, even if it's not the best one. We kind of have to play the game as it play the ball as it lies or whatever it is. But I guess we'll find out. But
Or this will turn out as it always has, as we've seen many times as we observe the 20th century, is people gaining influence and power through democratic means, only to not implement a genuine monarchy. So they're, gosh, I think we had to. I'm sure we discussed this also. The idea of it's not actually monarchism because it lacks any of what we were just talking about now, the natural checks and balances. But as far as the common normie is concerned, there isn't that much of a difference because it's just a surface level appearance of the rule of the one. And that's how we got Hitler. I mean Hitler got in democratically. I don't remember if Mussolini did,
Yeah,
but
he
we
was
know
voted.
Stalin.
He was voted
He,
in.
he was also voted. But even in instances uh, that where these dictators didn't get into positions of power through their institutions, like Stalin, for example. My point is, we already know what it looks like when people use non-monarchical means to make themselves monarchs. And this, oh boy, as bitter as it is to say this is actually an aspect where uh, Scrump and Evelyn are right about their elite theory, in the sense that, at least as far as what may seem obvious courses of actions, we ourselves can't actually do anything. Which is why I think we stick to the strategy that we've had so far, and we don't try to infiltrate institutions and try to get a foothold in influence where we probably won't be able to. We know it's going to collapse anyway. The way things are going, that's inevitable. We just need to prepare for it. We need to keep, we need to keep spreading the word first and foremost. So we have more people that we could rally and gather for our cause, and then we'll just keep doing what we've already planned on doing while we're at it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually during this stream. It just kind of crossed my mind. Like, what can we do? But in reality, what can anyone do? You know, part of the entire problem we're dealing with in the first place is that no one can do anything. There is no one. The system is made for that. That no one person can cause too much change. And what you end up getting is just an elite class that's just running amok. And they basically just say, like, okay, as long as you don't get too in my way, just you can do whatever you want.
Like
It was not a solution,
like Try
but
is saying,
that is the system.
yeah.
And so ultimately, us, I only have like 400 followers on Twitter. that's nothing. But Andrew Tate has 10, 11 million. What can he do either? Just as much as I can. What can Nick Fuentes do? He only has 1 million. Not much. He can get people to like stage a protest or a rally or something. He can't do anything either.
Well,
What can anyone do?
I think this nothing. I think this goes back to like our discussion about the balkanization of the United States. Once everything collapses, like that would be the prime time to establish some sort of monarchical system, because everything would be in chaos, and that's kind of how just the cycle of civilization works anyway. Everything collapses, and then a group of people get together, and they have one or two different leaders, and then you have a society, and you have rules, and everything builds up from there in a natural way. But I don't think we're going to be able to do that with the current system being the way that it is, unless somehow, like you were saying before, all the elites start saying, we want a king. And then obviously red flags go up. I'm like, oh no, whoa, what you guys doing? Who's going to be the king? Why do you want this?
Yeah, because
You
they
know,
obviously wouldn't want it for our ends. I mean, clearly they're self-serving and always have been. So this is this isn't gonna go any other way that wouldn't benefit them further.
Yeah, and so what is their end game with this? And so far we've only seen it from a C-list actor and Laura Loomer. But if this does become a rather mainstream talking point on the right, quote unquote right, among conservatives of let's install a king, what purpose does it serve for them? Because it's not for us. It 100% is guaranteed to not be for us. What do they gain from it?
Go back to what
Now
we were saying about them becoming like royalty and nobles on their own.
they don't like the
The
left.
squabbling would just change.
Yeah. But they don't like the left. They're closer to the left than we are, but they don't like the left either. So they wouldn't be too friendly toward them, but I don't know. That's part of what kind of freaks me out. It's like I really honestly don't know what to think right now about this because it was so unexpected. One of the most unexpected things, I think. Because I've been so convinced for so long that the last people who will accept monarchy are our current elites. And so for any of them, or shit, God forbid, most of them just start talking about love and monarchy, I'm like, oh fuck. Just my brain's scrambled right now. I don't know what to think.
I mean, we're still human, and so are they, and all of us became monarchists. So, I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely because of the situation and the position that they're in. But, I mean, you can't really outrule that, even if the possibility of them becoming monarchists in that way or wanting a king or monarchy is, less than 1%. We all became that over the course of time and whatever, windows of knowledge we jumped through. Was it the Overton windows? We all became that, so maybe it's possible, but you're not wrong
Yeah,
at
but
all.
here's
There's red flags.
I suppose it's possible, but here's one of the beauties of being plebs is that we're not part of the Game of Thrones, so to speak. And I don't mean the show. I mean like the actual concept of Games of Thrones. Like we're not part of that. We're just living our lives. We actually have time and space to do our own thinking and change our ways according to what we learn. We can do that. Whereas the elites are always in motion. Like it's Mario Kart with them 24/7. They're always racing alongside each other and they're throwing turtle shells at each other and shit, leaving bananas behind. But they're always in that race. The race never stops. So if they're leaning toward monarchy, it's because someone got a blue shell and they want to use it. But whenever the elites really clash with each other, and that would absolutely cause some sort of war between the left and the right, for sure. If the right just full blown went, hey, let's do monarchy now, the left would just they wouldn't even hold back anymore. They would just start trying to kill us outright.
That might be the catalyst.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a scary thought. But point is, the elites are always in this race. They're always racing with each other. And something occurred to them. This is what I mean. It could not be organic. It couldn't be. Because everything they do, every decision they make that affects their own power has to be for the benefit of their own power. And it's easy for us to think like, well, they just want to get rid of the left. All right, I like that idea, but I doubt it's that simple. I don't know.
Best case scenario, the status quo remains, and it's really just the terminology that changes. Worst case scenario, well, this is actually reminding me of one of the many factions that rose up after King Messiah passed away. A group of people that were called the Kingmen. And they were called Kingmen because they wanted to restore the kingdoms. They wanted to restore the monarchy as opposed to the system of judges that Messiah had implemented. The issue is they didn't want the family line that had been established in this Nephite kingdom up till that point. They wanted a king who represents them, who is of amongst them. So worst case scenario, we could be looking at monarchy has technically returned, but is it actually a monarchy though, or is it just some perversion of it? Or even worse, is it an actual true monarchy, but structured to benefit and wielded solely by our enemies for causes that are completely contradictory to our own, with the only commonality being that there is an actual monarch now.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if what Laura Loomer really meant was aristocracy. I wonder if what she really meant was like we'll have a figurehead leader, some figurehead at the top, but what's really going to happen is the elites won't even pretend to live by any rules anymore. Like we as plebs, we could technically sue an elite and possibly win, maybe. But what if the world they want, all of a sudden, particularly Laura Loomer, is just get rid of the rules? Get rid of any kind of rules where plebs can challenge us, and also just get rid of our enemies. That could be what it is. In which case, both the left and the plebs are fucked. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now.
I just had an epiphany that might be off our current topic, but it brings us back to what we were talking about the balance, the difference between uh, having order and tyranny and anarchy. And my epiphany is, what is the difference between anarchy and tyranny aside from structure? Because when you really think about it, anarchy and tyranny are both different kinds of bondage.
The ring of power can't be destroyed. Not even with anarchy. Someone always rules over you, or you're the one who rules over them, but someone always rules. But yeah, with anarchy, if you have to if you have to sleep with one eye open every night because you don't know who's going to come along and try to steal your property, just shoot you dead and then rape your wife and then take your property, including her, in a way, the people you're afraid of rule over you. In a way, they just don't have the structure necessarily to just say, this is ours now.
Exactly.
They just take it. But it's still a form of rule.
I would say
because in both systems,
structure's not centralized.
In both systems, you're afraid of someone using force against you for doing or for not doing what they want.
Specifically for evil means. And yeah, that's just something that occurred to me just now. And the reason I thought this is one aspect that separates LDS theology, one of many that separates it from other denominations of Christianity, is our belief as to why Lucifer was cast out of heaven in the first place. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but the story goes there was God's plan for us. That's what Heavenly Father wants for all of his children, which Jehovah supports. And you have to remember in LDS theology, Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father are two different persons, two different personages, right? But Lucifer opposes this plan by saying he will go down with all of the souls, all the children of God, and he will make sure that not one soul is lost and everyone will return to our Heavenly Father's presence under the condition that he gets all the glory instead of God. And there's the two prominent assumptions about what this means amongst LDS church members is what Lucifer advocated for was either anarchy because he wanted sorry, he advocated for anarchy because his way of assuring that everyone got back to heaven would be to redefine what it means to not be worthy to return to heaven. It's what Lucifer is known for, even throughout the Bible, anyways, making good look, or sorry, making evil look good and good look evil. So it's, yeah, I'll make sure no soul is lost, and it's because I'll have all these different interpretations of what it means, of what is following in the path that God set before us. And this one's admittedly more niche to the other assertion of he will make sure no one has any agency, and we must do everything that we are sent to Earth to accomplish by the letter, and so there won't be a decision. It won't be genuine. Our progress on Earth won't be genuine because we will not have gotten to choose whether or not we return to our Heavenly Father. I think both of these ideas are true simultaneously because the difference, as I just asked with the question of, what's the difference, what is truly the difference between anarchy and tyranny aside from structure? The answer is nothing. Aside from the specific structure, the answer to what makes them different is nothing. They are both evil, made manifest. So the only good in that economy is the middle, is that balance, is order. And it's only through order that you have liberty.
Yeah, I think I can see what you're saying.
I apologize if I'm not maybe making this as clear as I could.
No, it made sense.
I was thinking,
I get what you mean.
I was thinking about Job, or at least the book of Job, in which, because the common narrative Christians tell each other, like what happened in heaven, the rebellion in heaven was, I don't like saying Lucifer because when Isaiah wrote Lucifer, he was not referring to an angelic being. He was actually just describing an earthly king, but that's something else. I'm not totally sure if this is like even a biblically accurate story. The Bible technically doesn't tell us where demons came from, but
Hey, just so you know, I gotta go in like 3 minutes.
okay. Just let's assume it's
right.
true. It happened that way. It was not because, as Christians tell each other, that the devil questioned God, or he just, it wasn't that simple. Because in Job, there was a member of God's court who basically that was his job, was to question God. I forget what his name is or what he's referred to as. It's not like the questioner or something, but it's something along those lines. And the whole book of Job, he's saying that, like, well, if you take away everything Job has, he'll curse you. And God's like, well, let's see. That didn't get him cast out of heaven. So yeah, it's something to think about. So since you have to go so soon, Wise, final thoughts?
I'd say we need to be cautious and watch and wait to see what happens. Keep an eye on Loomer and Sorbo and anybody else who actually makes those comments. I mean, we could go through the search bar on X and see if we can see anything, pop up. But it's like kind of what I say at the end of my videos. Just we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see if any other elites are pushing this. What I think we should do, and this talk actually made me realize this, is
all right, guys, I gotta go. Sorry.
All right, well, see you later.
Okay,
later.
Later. What I came to realize is we need to not focus so much on monarchy anymore necessarily, because that's not sufficient on its own. You can have a monarchy and it's still a shit society. This conversation made me realize, like, brought that to the forefront in my mind. So even if people start embracing monarchy, that doesn't mean our problems are solved. We have to encourage and teach the whole picture and it's not just simply install a king. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you realized that, because aside from my idea of forming a coalition, that was one of the reasons I even proposed triarchy on the podcast, because I had come up with that realization. I had come to that realization as well. Like, monarchy can't be all we're pushing towards. For one thing, it's not popular, which, being a popular shouldn't be of any value as to whether or not something you're pursuing is virtuous. But not only that, but as I've explained using a good number, at least a couple or a few examples from the Book of Mormon, is yes, monarchy is a better system overall, but it's not enough to have a good system. You need good people, you need good values.
Yeah.
And without all of that, everything collapses.
Yep. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. The other two are gone, so the podcast kind of collapsed. But I think we
subject of collapse.
yeah, I think we got. I think everyone said what they wanted to say. Right. So that's the rest of our thoughts on the subject. All we can do really is just keep an eye on things and still try to push for better things, teach better things than the nonsense being taught to everyone lately. Those are my final thoughts.